follow the same format we have for the past several meetings. Just to jump into power supply, the council did approve the recommendation you all made for the KMEA study. That's been submitted to KMEA. The study's in progress. I'm sorry I don't have an update on it. I tried to call them today, but it is in progress based on your recommendation.
Okay.
As far as substation number 1 goes, the substation transformers were energized last June, as we discussed last meeting. We have not shifted the circuits to them yet because we're still working with some generation issues, and I know Dave and Evan have both felt it prudent not to go ahead and load that up until we get those resolved. The substation 2 is robust enough to carry those circuits, so until we get some wiring issues I'll discuss resolved, we're just going to leave them there. But we hope to do it
Next week.
a week or two, because we're planning to start up the generators next week to run some testing. Before I jump to generation, the replacement of transformer 1, which is the transformer used to step the generated voltage up to transmission voltage, is slated for replacement next year. It'd be debt financed. We're carrying a number of $1.5 million. I'm not sure what the cost would be. We received a proposal from SEGA to spec that out and put together bid documents for us and to provide engineering support. We're reviewing that. We'll cash fund that contract now, and then we'll go ahead and get the debt set up to buy the transformer next year.
Do we think we will really need to do debt versus just... if it's, in the past, if it was $1 million or less, we tried to do it in the budget cycle.
Right.
Do we have any idea where that's going to come in at this time?
I know some of the previous transformers we got have been under $1 million.
Right.
But I think the direction I've been getting is we want to debt finance it. So at the moment, that's kind of where it is.
Okay. Well, obviously we can send out for bids because we'll have to hire them out for the purchasing policy. But before we do that, if possible, I'd like it to come back so that we can make a recommendation whether or not we think we should debt finance it.
Okay. What will have to happen before that? Initially, what will happen is the council will have to approve a resolution basically authorizing the sale of debt, and then before they even get started. So that resolution has not been even considered yet. So we still have some time.
Yeah.
But that would be a discussion. I think we should be ready. Very likely we'll be prepared to discuss that with you at your next meeting.
Okay.
Because we should have at least cost estimates as far as the replacement of the transformer. As far as substation 2 goes, we did execute a contract with Eaton for the bus duct upgrade and switchgear for transformer 4. They're scheduled now to deliver the new material September 15th. So that installation could begin as soon as we can take transformer 4 out of service. With generation, generator 2 was started last week twice. First time was just a startup. The second time they did put a load. How many megs were you putting out?
10 megs for 3 minutes.
So it was producing power. The problem was the VARs, which is the volt-ampere resistance. Either one, our meter wasn't reading it, or two, our control wasn't working. So basically, we were just pumping out straight power, but we weren't getting the apparent power adjustment. So crews, we're looking at that, and Bill Fish has been weighing in on ideas. I think Dave has found some wiring that needs repair, so we are working toward that. So when we run next week, the plan is to have the VAR control corrected. The other problem we've got is the KCPL metering, which was taken out with the raccoon incident of last year. KCPL plans to be on site when the generator's running so they can try and get their meters diagnosed and we can get those working. The follow-up after that, once we get the meters working, is we have a fiber optic cable contractor lined in to come in and reconfigure and rewire the control panel. Will enable us to eliminate several old landlines that we've had for communications. So the end result is things will eliminate some cost for phone lines, and we'll have much better communications through fiber optic. With Bill Fish, as I'd mentioned, we did execute the contract. He's already providing phone support now, and he'll be assisting us with that PLC upgrade for the controls, and also for speccing out the replacement for the fuel regulators. The fuel regulators are kind of an old mechanical electrical device used to control the gas flow, and they're kind of carry over from the original control system for these 1968 vintage units. Distribution projects, wrapping up the overhead portion of the alley project between Warren and Park and from Oak to Sycamore. The only remaining major piece of that project is to bore and make the connection under Center Street, take it from overhead to underground. Completed reconstruction of the overhead circuit that goes toward Westside Park between Warren and Westside Park by Bedford. And there's continuing with the work to upgrade the underground circuit that kind of runs through the middle, north-south through the middle of the Conestoga Park. We're still working on that one. The distribution parking lot, the survey was not received until the week of the 21st. We're about a month behind. We should be able to get the specs out and ready for bid. However, just to hit the council cycle, it's very likely going to be the first meeting in October, so we'll be constructing it in October. We're planning to move the distribution operation over to the Energy Center, house the trucks in the existing sheds, and move them there during construction, so we can just get it done. But that's where we are on that. Gas transmission line, we negotiated and entered into a contract with Black Hills. I think the last meeting we had completed just the field services contract. We went ahead and augmented that with a contract basically turning over operation of the gas line for the remainder of the year. Satisfies some of the requirements of KCC. Most of our notices that we received, well, all of them have been satisfied by our contract with Black Hills. They will continue to basically manage it for us through the end of the year. If we do need locates, they'll come out and locate. It's just an hourly rate. But we are now fully in compliance with the contract with Black Hills. By November, we'll need to sit down with Black Hills again, negotiate a new contract for next year. Between then and now, decide what we can farm back to our own people and get them trained to where they're qualified to do, or if anything, we want to. But we'll need to have a second contract, our contract for 2015 ready. That very likely will require council consideration because of the cost. The spill prevention, containment, and countermeasures plan, we met with Environ in July. They're preparing a first draft for us to review. We haven't received that yet, but we're already knocking out some of the items we need to. One of the couple of larger expenses we're going to face, number one, will be to pave the floor of the containment around our fuel tank. It's currently earth and rock. We've looked at it, probably looking somewhere in the magnitude of $20,000 to put in 4-inch concrete. And finally, the new small aerial lift trucks were received earlier this month, and I don't know if they have picked up the old ones yet. As of Monday, they had not, but we are still working. We've received them. We're running on a temporary plate. We're just waiting on getting the final lease documents, so that issue is done. And I think that is all I have for you all.
Where are we, in general, where are we on NERC compliance? I know that just because we have a lot of turnover.
Evan is handling it currently. We are up to date with what is required right now as far as the reporting goes. We still will need to get our hands around new requirements coming online.